The auditorium buzzed with cheers, camera flashes, and parents craning their necks for one perfect shot of their child. I should have been one of them, smiling, proud, clapping until my hands burned. Emma, my daughter, my heart, was walking across that stage in her red graduation gown. Instead, I stood frozen in my seat, my world cracking apart, because my closest friend had just stood up and set fire to my marriage in front of hundreds of people. "Congratulations, Emma," Rachel's voice rang out, dripping with venom disguised as cheer. She was only 2 rows ahead of us, and when she turned back to face me, her smile was the kind that cut. "I wonder if your mom knows how many nights your dad spent with me while she was at home making scrapbooks of you." The air left my lungs. The rows around us rippled with gasps, whispers sparking like dry leaves catching flame. Heads turned. Phones came out. Emma stopped mid-step on the stage, her diploma still in the principal's hand, confusion flooding her face. Jason, seated beside me in his pressed navy suit, went white, his jaw tightening. "Rachel, sit down," he hissed, low enough for only me and a few unlucky witnesses to hear. But Rachel didn't sit. She didn't stop. She raised her voice like she wanted the rafters to hear. "Jason, you told me you'd leave her after graduation. You promised. Or do you want me to tell everyone about the hotel receipts too?" I swear I could hear the click of Emma's knees locking on stage. Her best friends sitting near the front row shifted uncomfortably, their parents whispering, covering mouths with their hands. The principal cleared his throat into the microphone, but even he froze, watching the spectacle unfold. I couldn't move. My heart thundered so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. 15 years of marriage, 15 years of loyalty, 15 years of sacrifice, and it shattered under the fluorescent lights of a high school auditorium, with my daughter's peers and teachers looking on like they'd just tuned into a soap opera. Emma's voice cracked from the stage. "Mom? Dad? What is she talking about?" Jason shot to his feet, reaching for Rachel. "Enough." His face was flushed now, sweat breaking across his hairline. He reached out as if he could shove the words back into her throat. Rachel yanked her arm away. "Don't you dare pretend with me, Jason. Not after everything you said in my bed. You wanted me, not her." The whispers swelled into a storm. "Did she say in her bed?" one mother muttered. "Is that Alyssa's best friend?" another voice hissed. My cheeks burned. Rage clawed up my throat, choking out the shame. I stood slowly, my chair scraping loudly against the polished floor, silencing the rows around me. All eyes locked on me. Alyssa Miller, the wife who'd been made a fool of at her daughter's graduation. Jason turned, reaching for me, panic in his eyes. "Alyssa, please don't listen to her. She's lying." Rachel laughed, cruel and triumphant. "Lying? Should I forward her the pictures you sent me, Jason? Or maybe show the hotel bookings under your name?" A phone camera flashed directly in my face. Someone was recording. Maybe everyone was. Emma was trembling on stage, her diploma hanging limp at her side. She mouthed, "Mom, please." That was it. That was the moment the humiliation gave way to fury so sharp it steadied me. My hand moved before my brain caught up. The slap cracked across Jason's face like a gunshot, echoing in the stunned silence. His head jerked to the side, his cheek blooming red instantly. Gasps. More flashes. A stunned pause that seemed to stretch forever. I leaned in, my voice steady and sharp, every word a blade. "You destroyed this family, in front of our daughter, and in front of the world. Don't you dare think you're walking away clean." Jason opened his mouth, but I didn't give him the chance. I grabbed my purse from under the seat, my heels clicking with every step as I moved past him. Emma was still frozen on stage, her eyes filling with tears. I caught her gaze and mouthed back, "It's not your fault. I'll fix this." Then I turned my back on all of them, on Jason, on Rachel, on the whispers that would stain the walls of that auditorium forever. Parents pulled their children closer as I strode down the aisle, the crowd parting like I was carrying fire in my hands. Behind me, Jason's voice rose, desperate. "Alyssa, wait. But I didn't wait. I didn't stumble. I didn't cry. My marriage had died in front of 1,000 witnesses, and instead of collapsing, I felt something cold and merciless ignite inside me. When I pushed open the double doors and the humid Houston air hit my face, I swore out loud, not caring who heard. He's going to regret the day he betrayed me. And I meant every word. When I first met Jason, I thought he was the kind of man who could hold the sky in his hands, confident, ambitious, the kind who made promises with that boyish smile that convinced you he meant every word. I was 21 when we married, still in college, chasing dreams of my own in marketing. I had ideas, ambition, a path laid out for myself. But life shifted. Emma came along sooner than we'd planned, and Jason's business idea started taking shape at the same time. I made a choice, our family first, my career second. At the time, it didn't feel like a sacrifice. I told myself it was teamwork. He would build, I would support, and together we'd rise. While he worked late into the night on pitches and networking dinners, I stayed home rocking Emma, balancing bills, and making sure the lights stayed on. I even left my last semester unfinished so I could help him with bookkeeping. I told myself love required compromise. What I didn't realize then was that compromise in our marriage only went one way. My mother passed away when Emma was 8. She'd been my anchor, my fiercest protector, and the one who warned me, in her quiet way, that Jason's ambition sometimes smelled more like hunger. When her estate settled, I inherited just enough to give us real breathing room. Jason had already been struggling with a string of failed ventures, and when he begged me to invest the inheritance into his can't-miss logistics startup, I did. Every penny of my mother's life savings went into him. The business finally took off, and he never let me forget it was his achievement. Not ours. Not my mother's gift. His. Looking back, the signs were there long before Rachel stood up at Emma's graduation. I just buried them under loyalty, and the hope that the man I married still lived somewhere inside him. Late nights at the office became routine. He called them business trips, yet somehow his receipts never matched his calendar. Rachel, my Rachel, slipped into our lives in ways that should have raised alarms. She offered to pick up Emma when I was busy. She started attending Jason's corporate events as if she were part of the family. I remember once coming home from the grocery store to find her sitting at my kitchen counter, sipping wine with Jason, laughing like she belonged there. I asked him about it. I remember that night clearly. He waved it off with a dismissive chuckle. "She's lonely, Alyssa. Her marriage is falling apart. You're her best friend. I'm just keeping her company until she figures things out." I wanted to believe him. I forced myself to. Because what was the alternative? To admit that my husband might betray me and that my closest friend might stab me in the back? That was unthinkable. The first real crack came 2 months before graduation. Jason left for a conference in Dallas. Something about his tone didn't sit right with me. He was too careful with his words, too quick to pack. That night, Emma came into my room, her face pale, her hands shaking. "Mom," she whispered. I heard Dad on the phone. He thought I was asleep. I sat up straight. "What did you hear?" Her eyes filled with tears. "He called someone baby. He said, 'I can't wait until graduation is over so we can stop hiding.' He said he loved her." My stomach dropped. "Are you sure?" Emma nodded, her chin trembling. "I'm sure, Mom. It wasn't you he was talking to. And it sounded like Rachel." The world tilted under me. I wanted to scream, to march into Jason's office and demand the truth. But I couldn't. Not with Emma looking at me, fragile and frightened. I swallowed the rage, pulled her into my arms, and told her it would be okay. Even though I didn't believe it myself. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat alone in the dark of our living room. My wedding photos stared down at me from the wall, mocking. Jason's smile, my veil, Emma's tiny face in the background of some shots. All of it felt like evidence in a case I'd been refusing to build. I tried to rationalize. Maybe Emma misheard. Maybe Jason's words had been twisted by a poor connection. Or maybe he was role-playing a conversation for a client. I clung to every absurd excuse because the truth was unbearable. But the truth didn't care about my denial. It was written in the way Rachel avoided my eyes at brunch. It was there in Jason's sudden gym memberships, his cologne-heavy hugs, the way his phone never left his pocket. It was in Emma's broken expression when she begged me not to pretend anymore. By the time graduation day arrived, I already knew. Deep down, I had known for months. I just needed someone else to rip the blindfold off. And Rachel, standing 2 rows ahead, had done it with a smile sharp enough to slice my world apart. There was no denying it anymore. Jason had betrayed me. Rachel had betrayed me. And I had allowed my sacrifices to build the very stage they chose to destroy me on. The morning after graduation, I woke up with swollen eyes and a chest that felt carved out. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Emma's quiet movements in her room across the hall. Every part of me wanted to curl into myself and cry until there was nothing left. But then I remembered the way Jason had looked at me in that auditorium. His mouth half open, his excuses already forming. That look wasn't shame, it wasn't remorse. It was fear of being caught. And I realized something. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of losing control. That was the moment the switch flipped. I wasn't going to be his victim. I wasn't going to be the woman whispered about at PTA meetings, the one who let her husband and best friend gut her life while she begged for scraps. No, I was going to be the one who took everything back, and then some. I sat up, pulled on jeans and a t-shirt, and walked straight to the office I'd barely used in years. Jason thought of it as a cluttered corner for bills and school projects. But to me, it was suddenly the war room. I opened the file drawer where I kept every deed, every account statement, every document my mother had drilled into me to save. There it was, right on top. The deed to our house. My inheritance had secured it, so the title was in my name alone. Jason had always shrugged that off, assuming it didn't matter because, "We're married, Alyssa. What's yours is mine." Not anymore. My first call was to the bank. I requested immediate freezes on our joint accounts. The woman on the line hesitated, asking, "Are you sure, Mrs. Miller? That will stop both of you from accessing the funds." I smiled, a bitter little curl of my lips. "Yes, that's exactly the point." My second call was to a divorce lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the one my friend Marlene had used when her ex tried to cheat her out of her business shares. Marlene had called him a shark. I wanted a shark. When his assistant answered, I introduced myself, and before I could even explain, she said, "We've heard about you, Mrs. Miller. The graduation incident?" I swallowed hard, but didn't let my voice shake. "Yes, that's me. I need to file immediately." Within the hour, I had an appointment for later that afternoon. While Emma slept in, I started packing. Not in a frantic, desperate way, but carefully, deliberately. Essentials only. Her school documents, my jewelry, the small box of letters my mother had written me before she passed. The external drive with Jason's business records I'd quietly copied over the years. He never noticed when I handled the paperwork. He thought I was just filing. He never realized I was safeguarding. When Emma finally emerged, her eyes rimmed red, I hugged her tight. She whispered, "Are you leaving him?" "Yes," I said simply. "And I need you to trust me. I'm not just leaving. I'm making sure he never has the power to hurt us again." For the first time since the auditorium, her shoulders eased. She nodded. "Good. He doesn't deserve you." By mid-afternoon, I was sitting across from the lawyer, a man named Franklin with silver hair and eyes that didn't miss a thing. He listened as I laid out everything: the inheritance, the deed in my name, the affair with Rachel, the phone call Emma overheard. When I finished, he leaned back and tapped his pen against the desk. "You've got leverage most women don't, Alyssa. The house is yours outright. If we move quickly, we can secure temporary custody and freeze his business accounts until financial disclosures are complete. He'll panic, but that panic is your power. I felt the first spark of control ignite inside me. That evening, when Jason finally stumbled home, his tie loosened, his face still blotched from the humiliation of the day before, I was ready. He walked in expecting tears, maybe a screaming match, maybe me curled up on the couch begging for an explanation. Instead, he found me at the dining table, a stack of legal documents spread neatly before me. Emma sat in the living room, earbuds in, pretending not to watch. Jason stopped cold. "What is all this?" I looked him dead in the eye. "This is the end of you owning me." He laughed, nervous, trying to reclaim footing. "Alyssa, come on. We can talk about this. Rachel's crazy. She was jealous of you. Don't." My voice was flat. "Don't insult me with more lies. The accounts are frozen. The house is mine. The lawyer is ready. I'm done." His face drained of color. You froze the accounts? Are you insane? Our business," I cut in sharply, "was built on my mother's money. Don't forget that." He slammed a hand against the table, rattling the documents. "You can't just walk away from 15 years like this." I stood, gathering the papers calmly, sliding them back into a folder. "Watch me." Jason's eyes darted between me and Emma, like he was searching for backup. But Emma didn't even look at him. She just pressed her earbuds deeper and turned her gaze to the TV, as if he were nothing more than background noise. For the first time in 15 years, Jason realized I wasn't going to beg, or cry, or bargain. I was already moving forward, and he was standing still. The first crack in Jason's perfect image came faster than I expected. Less than 24 hours after I froze the accounts, he tried to use our joint credit card at a steakhouse with a few of his business partners. He'd taken them out, no doubt to reassure them after the graduation disaster. But when the waiter returned, card in hand, shaking his head, Jason's smile reportedly faltered. "Sir, the payment didn't go through." According to Marlene, whose husband happened to be at the table, Jason's face went crimson. He fumbled for another card, only for that one to fail too. His partners exchanged looks, whispers buzzing as Jason scrambled. Eventually, one of them, new money, eager to save face, covered the bill. But the damage was done. By the next morning, I heard the story had already traveled through half of Houston's business circle. Jason Miller, the man who loved to brag about his financial genius, couldn't even buy dinner. Rachel's husband, Tom, confronted her that same night. I didn't witness it, but I didn't need to. By sunrise, texts lit up my phone. "Did you hear? Rachel's moving out. Tom kicked her out last night. Apparently he'd demanded the truth. She denied, then admitted, then screamed. He threw her suitcase on the lawn while neighbors filmed from their porches. The fallout spread like wildfire. Houston's PTA moms, the same women who once envied my perfect family, now sent me messages dripping with sympathy and just a hint of smug curiosity. "If you need anything, Alyssa, we're here," one wrote. Another admitted, "Honestly, we never trusted Rachel." The church group wasn't much different, half prayers, half gossip. Everyone loved a scandal, and mine had become their entertainment. For once, I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt oddly detached, almost satisfied. Let them whisper. Every word was another brick crumbling from Jason's pedestal. Meanwhile, Jason's business partners weren't staying quiet. Franklin, my lawyer, called to tell me that at least 2 investors had already reached out to inquire about Jason's financial stability. The accounts being frozen spooked them, Franklin said. They're nervous. It'll only get worse once the divorce filing hits the court docket. Jason must have felt the walls closing in, because by midweek, he showed up at my father's house. He hadn't called ahead, of course. He never did when he wanted something. My father, a retired contractor with hands like stone and a temper to match, answered the door. "Alyssa here?" Jason asked, his tone clipped but desperate. "No," Dad said, not budging from the doorway. Jason shifted, trying to peer inside. "I just need to talk to her. It's important." "You've done enough talking," Dad said flatly. "My daughter owes you nothing. Not after what you pulled. Jason bristled. With all due respect, sir, this is between me and Alyssa. Dad stepped closer, his voice low and steady. You humiliated her in front of your daughter. You stole her money and her trust. And now you're standing on my porch like you've got a leg to stand on? Get off my property. Jason hesitated, then muttered something under his breath before retreating. When I heard about it later, Dad called me, his voice gentler than usual. Don't worry, sweetheart. He's not getting near you or Emma without going through me first. It wasn't just Dad. My brother, Mark, reached out too. He and Jason had once been close, bonded over football games and beers, but Mark didn't mince words. He's finished, Alyssa. Don't you dare let him pull you back in. He'll come crawling, but don't give him an inch. Their support steeled me further. I wasn't alone. Jason's empire was collapsing, and I had an army, my family, standing behind me. By Friday, Rachel's face was plastered across social media. Someone had leaked screenshots of her messages with Jason. In one, she wrote, I can't wait until graduation's over. She'll finally see what a real man looks like. The comments section turned brutal fast. Former friends called her a snake, a traitor. One mom even tagged her, Rachel, you should be ashamed. Don't show your face at church again. For once, I didn't feel pity. She had made her choices. She could choke on them. That night, as Emma and I ate takeout on the couch, my phone buzzed. Jason's name lit up the screen. He'd already tried calling twice that day, but I ignored him. This time, Emma saw the name and her face hardened. Don't answer it, Mom. I looked at her, my daughter, 17, stronger than I realized, and I nodded. I won't. The phone rang and rang, the sound filling the room, heavy and desperate. Finally, it went silent. A minute later, it rang again. I let it buzz on the coffee table until it stopped. Then I turned it face down, grabbed another slice of pizza, and clinked my soda can against Emma's. To us, I said softly. She smiled, her eyes still damp but brighter than they'd been all week. To us. Jason could keep calling. He could keep clawing at the edges of the life I was dismantling piece by piece. But I wasn't listening anymore. Jason thought he was clever. After days of silence from me, he texted, Let's meet. Just the two of us. Morton's. 7 p.m. I knew what Morton's meant. His favorite upscale steakhouse in Houston. It was never just the two of us there. That's where he schmoozed investors, where he puffed his chest and ordered the most expensive wine so people would believe the myth of Jason Miller, self-made success story. I almost didn't go. But then Franklin slid a folder across his desk earlier that day. Inside, hotel invoices, time-stamped photos, texts between Jason and Rachel that left no room for denial. You wanted receipts? Franklin asked. Now you have them. So I went. Calm, steady, war ready. When I walked in, Jason was already at the table, his tie perfectly knotted, hair slicked back, but his eyes jittered the moment he saw me. And he wasn't alone. Two of his colleagues sat nearby, along with Rachel, her lipstick too bright, her laugh too forced. So much for just us. He stood, plastering on a smile. Alyssa, thank you for coming. Of course, I said smoothly, slipping into the seat across from him. I didn't touch the menu. I didn't need to. Rachel shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. She knew I wasn't here to play victim. Jason cleared his throat. Listen, what happened at graduation? It was blown out of proportion. Rachel got emotional, and things were taken the wrong way. You know how rumors spread. I tilted my head, letting his lie hang in the air. Rumors? He leaned forward, voice lowered. Yes, we can fix this, Alyssa. For Emma's sake, for appearances. I'll do damage control, but you need to stop making things worse. Freezing the accounts, talking to lawyers, it looks bad. For both of us. There it was. Not an apology, not remorse, just damage control. I smiled, slow and sharp. Then I reached into my purse and pulled out Franklin's folder. I slid it across the table, right between his expensive wine glass and Rachel's trembling hand. "What's this?" Jason asked, his voice already tightening. "Receipts," I said. He opened it, and his face drained as he flipped through page after page. Hotel bookings with his credit card, bar tabs in Dallas on nights he claimed to be in Chicago, text messages that left no room for doubt. "I can't wait to see you again, baby. Graduation can't come fast enough." The colleagues beside him leaned in, eyes widening. Rachel snatched the papers, scanned a page, and shoved them back like they were on fire. "Jason, you told me she'd never find out," she hissed, too loud, too panicked. And that was the nail in the coffin. A hush spread across the restaurant as heads turned, whispers darting like sparks. Phones slipped out discreetly, cameras ready. Houston loved a scandal, and I had just handed them one gift wrapped. Jason slammed the folder shut, his jaw clenched. "You set me up." "No," I said, my voice steady enough to cut glass. "You set yourself up the moment you thought you could betray me and get away with it. All I did was bring the truth to the table." Rachel scrambled to her feet, her chair screeching against the polished floor. I can't be here." She grabbed her purse, her face blotchy with humiliation. One of Jason's colleagues muttered, "Unbelievable," under his breath as she rushed for the exit. Jason reached after her. "Rachel, wait." She didn't. She was gone before he could stand. The silence around us was thick, suffocating. Then, as if on cue, someone from a nearby table let out a sharp laugh. Another voice whispered, "Jason Miller, caught red-handed." He turned back to me, his mask cracking. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You just humiliated me in front of the same people you tried to impress while you were screwing my best friend?" I cut him off. My voice was louder now, strong enough for half the restaurant to hear. "Don't talk to me about humiliation. You earned every second of it." His colleagues exchanged glances, already calculating how fast they could distance themselves from him. I stood, smoothing my dress, and leaned in just close enough for the words to sting. "You wanted to play the role of the powerful husband, Jason. But here's the truth. Without me, without my mother's money, you're just another liar with nothing to show for it." And then I said it. The line I knew would spread across every circle, every dinner party, every PTA group chat. "You didn't lose me tonight. You lost the last shred of respect this city had for you." A collective murmur swept the room. Someone clapped. Just once, sharp and deliberate. Jason's face contorted, rage, shame, desperation, all fighting for dominance. He shoved back from the table, knocking over his wine, the red spilling like blood across the white cloth. Without another word, he stormed toward the door, his footsteps echoing. Not a single person followed him. I picked up Franklin's folder, tucked it back into my purse, and looked at the stunned faces around me. Calm, collected, in control. Then I walked out too, leaving Jason Miller to drown in the silence he'd created. Jason always cared more about his reputation than his family, so it didn't surprise me when the battle moved online. 2 days after the restaurant scene, his Facebook and Instagram lit up with carefully worded posts. People love to spread lies. "My wife is struggling emotionally, and instead of seeking help, she's lashing out. I never betrayed my family. I will always stand by my daughter, no matter what Alyssa claims." He even uploaded a picture of himself with Emma from 3 years ago. Emma in braces, her arms around him in a school hallway. The comments came quickly. Sympathy from people who didn't know better, confusion from those who'd heard the real story, and anger from Emma herself, who stormed into the living room when she saw it. "He's using me?" she shouted, shoving her phone into my hands. "He doesn't even talk to me now, and he's posting this like we're best friends?" I put my arms around her shoulders. "He's desperate, sweetheart. He thinks he can win sympathy by painting me as unstable, but lies only stretch so far." Jason's damage control didn't stop at social media. A local business blog posted an interview he'd given, where he called me bitter and vindictive. He claimed I'd fabricated everything to destroy him because I couldn't handle his success. He even hinted that Rachel had been like a sister to us and that I'd twisted her friendship into something ugly. The comments section exploded, but not the way he expected. That man humiliated his wife at their daughter's graduation and wants us to believe she's the liar? Please. Funny how the receipts don't lie. We've seen the texts. Your Rachel the homewrecker trending yet? By the next morning, it was. That's when Franklin made his move. My lawyer had been patient, gathering documents, screenshots, and financial statements. He didn't leak them all, just enough to send a clear message. Copies of hotel invoices with Jason's name. Screenshots of Jason wiring money from our joint account to cover Rachel's rent. A picture of Jason and Rachel together at a Dallas hotel, time-stamped and watermarked. The internet didn't hold back. The Miller scandal shot up in Houston Twitter feeds. Memes appeared within hours. Jason's face photoshopped onto a sinking ship. Rachel's on an anchor dragging him down. One clip of my mic drop line from Morton's had been recorded and uploaded, gaining thousands of views. You didn't lose me tonight. You lost the last shred of respect this city had for you. People repeated it like a mantra. Jason panicked. I knew because his posts became frantic, erratic. One day he claimed I'd forged the documents. The next he swore Rachel had trapped him, that she'd been blackmailing him. By Friday, he deleted half his accounts, but the screenshots lived on. The internet never forgets. Rachel didn't escape either. Rachel the homewrecker was merciless. Parents from our school shared stories of how she'd volunteered at events while sneaking around with Jason. Old acquaintances posted pictures of her clinging to him at parties where I hadn't been invited. Even her extended family weighed in. Her sister posted a cryptic status. Some people destroy their own homes and then wonder why they're standing in ashes. Rachel tried to defend herself once. A shaky Instagram video surfaced of her saying, "This is just between 3 people. The rest of you need to stay out of it." Within an hour, the comments section buried her alive. You made it public at graduation, remember? 3 people? You mean Alyssa, the man you betrayed her with, and the daughter you humiliated? Enjoy your new reputation. She deleted her account the same night. Meanwhile, the city rallied around me in a way I hadn't expected. Women I barely knew stopped me at the grocery store. You're Alyssa, right? Good for you. You're showing all of us that cheaters don't get to win. Strangers sent flowers to my doorstep with notes that read, "Stay strong and you inspire us." It wasn't that I wanted the attention, but after years of being invisible, supporting Jason's business, raising Emma, sacrificing myself, it felt strange and empowering to be seen. Jason, on the other hand, couldn't leave his house without hearing whispers. His gym membership was revoked after members complained about the disruption he caused. At a Chamber of Commerce meeting, no one would sit next to him. Investors pulled back, citing public image concerns. His reputation, the one thing he prized above all else, was shredded in a matter of weeks. The final blow came when a local news anchor, covering the trending hashtags, read my line from Morton's on live TV. You didn't lose me tonight. You lost the last shred of respect this city had for you. The clip went viral. Jason wasn't just a husband who cheated. He was the man who got outplayed by his wife. One night, Emma and I sat on the couch scrolling through the chaos. She laughed, really laughed, for the first time since graduation. "Mom, look," she said, showing me a meme of Jason's face pasted on a sinking Titanic poster with the caption, "Should have invested in honesty." I laughed too, the sound raw but real. For once, the shame wasn't mine to carry. By the end of the month, Jason was no longer Jason the businessman, Jason the family man, Jason the charmer. He was Jason Miller, headline scandal, meme fodder, a cautionary tale whispered about over brunch. And I hadn't even started the real dismantling yet. The divorce hearings began like a war trial, and I came prepared for every battle. Jason strutted into the courtroom on day 1 wearing his best suit, pretending confidence. But I saw the cracks, the twitch of his jaw, the way he avoided the whispers from the gallery. Franklin, my lawyer, didn't waste time. "Your Honor," he began, sliding the deed across the judge's bench. "This house is solely in Mrs. Miller's name. purchased with inheritance from her late mother. Mr. Miller has no claim. Jason sputtered, leaning toward his attorney. That was our home. The judge peered over her glasses. Mr. Miller, do you contest the deed? Jason's lawyer cleared his throat. No, Your Honor. The gavel came down, and just like that, the house, the one Jason bragged about hosting fundraisers in, the one he thought was his trophy, was mine, legally and indisputably. Next came the accounts. Franklin laid out the records of Jason funneling money to Rachel. Wire transfers, rent payments, even jewelry charged to our joint card. The judge's brow furrowed deeper with every page. Given the financial misconduct, she ruled, Mrs. Miller will retain majority access to liquid assets. Mr. Miller is liable for reimbursement. Jason's face flushed crimson. He muttered under his breath, You're destroying me. I didn't look at him. I only adjusted my posture, calm, steady. Custody was next. Emma had written her own statement with Franklin's help. She described overhearing Jason's phone call, the humiliation at graduation, and her decision to stay with me. When the judge read her words aloud, Jason's shoulders sagged like he'd been shot. Custody of the minor child is granted to Mrs. Miller. Mr. Miller may petition for visitation rights, pending conditions set by the court. Emma sat behind me, gripping my hand, relief pouring off her in waves. Jason didn't even turn to look at her. Then came the cars. Both had been registered in my name, another quiet precaution I'd taken years ago. Jason tried to argue, his voice rising. She doesn't even drive the Escalade. That's mine. The judge slammed her gavel. Sit down, Mr. Miller. By the end of the proceedings, Jason's empire was rubble. He owed alimony, child support, and reimbursements for marital funds misused on Rachel. His success story was exposed as a house of cards built on my inheritance and lies. Investors had already begun withdrawing. His company bled out within weeks. Rachel's collapse wasn't far behind. Her husband, Tom, filed for divorce almost immediately, citing adultery. Their 2 children sided with him, refusing to speak to her. Friends ghosted her. She showed up once at the courthouse, eyes hollow, clutching a handbag like it was a lifeline. When she caught sight of me, she looked away, her face flushing with shame. I didn't feel pity. She'd lit the match herself. News spread quickly. The social circles that once welcomed Rachel with open arms shut their doors. She wasn't just the other woman. She was the woman who betrayed her best friend, wrecked her own family, and lost everything in one public implosion. Jason's family wasn't kinder. His father, a stern man who'd always viewed me as lucky to have his son, finally saw the truth. When Jason showed up at his parents' house, suitcase in hand, his father refused him at the door. You embarrassed this family, the older man said coldly. Your wife gave you everything, her mother's money, her loyalty, her child, and you spit on it. Don't come here asking for shelter. Jason's voice broke, the arrogance gone. Dad, I have nowhere else. Then you should have thought about that before you threw it all away. The door shut in his face. It was a moment I didn't witness, but word traveled back to me through a mutual cousin. I pictured it vividly. Jason standing on the porch, suitcase at his feet, realizing even his blood wanted nothing to do with him. His business partners abandoned him too. Without funding, without credibility, the company folded. His office lease went unpaid, and within weeks, movers emptied out his corner suite. The man who once bragged about boardrooms and balance sheets now had nothing but creditors breathing down his neck. Meanwhile, I rebuilt quietly. The house was legally mine, and Franklin ensured Jason couldn't touch it. My accounts were secure. Emma and I began planning a fresh chapter, college visits, redecorating her room, even a small trip just for us. Each step forward was a reminder that I hadn't just survived, I was thriving. Jason, on the other hand, spiraled. Friends reported seeing him in bars, slumped over, ranting about betrayal. Some nights he slept in his car. Others, he crashed at cheap motels. Once, I drove past a gas station and saw him at the pump, hunched, thinner, his suit wrinkled. He didn't notice me. The humiliation he'd tried to deflect was now his permanent reality. He wasn't Jason Miller, respected businessman. He wasn't Jason Miller, family man. He was Jason Miller, broke, divorced, disowned, and abandoned. One evening, Emma asked me, "Do you think Dad will ever get his life back?" I paused, looking at her. My daughter, stronger now than ever. Maybe, but not the life he had with us. He lost that forever. She nodded, as if that was the closure she needed. By the end of the summer, Jason was homeless. He tried to crash at a cousin's, but after one too many drunken rants, they kicked him out. Word spread that he was sleeping in his car, begging old contacts for help, but no one wanted to be associated with him anymore. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I simply let the consequences play out. He had built his world on lies, betrayal, and arrogance. All I'd done was stop holding it up. When I tucked Emma into bed that night, I whispered the truth out loud for the first time. He's finally where he put himself, alone. The call came through Franklin's office. Jason wanted one last meeting. He says he wants to make peace, Franklin told me, his tone dry. You don't owe him that. I thought about it. After everything, the graduation, the courtroom, the collapse, I didn't need peace from Jason, but I wanted to look him in the eye one final time, if only to close the door myself. We agreed on neutral ground, a quiet cafe on the edge of town, mid-afternoon when the lunch rush had died. I arrived early, ordered a black coffee, and sat near the window. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I wasn't the woman who walked out of that auditorium in tears. I was the woman who had taken back control. Jason showed up 10 minutes late, the way he always did. But the man who slid into the chair across from me wasn't the Jason I remembered. His suit hung loose on him, his hair unkempt, his face hollowed by weeks of sleepless nights. He tried to smile, but it faltered into something closer to a grimace. "Alyssa," he said softly, almost reverently. "You look good." I didn't answer. I stirred my coffee once, then set the spoon down. He exhaled, leaning forward. "I know I made mistakes, big ones. But you can't just erase 15 years. We had a life together. We have Emma. Doesn't that mean anything?" I let the silence stretch until he shifted uncomfortably. "It means I gave you everything, Jason, and you decided it wasn't enough." He winced. "I was stupid, weak, but I can fix it. I can start over if you give me a chance. We could be a family again. I could rebuild." I raised an eyebrow. "Rebuild with what?" "You've lost your business, your investors, your father's respect. Even Rachel left you. All you have left is the wreckage you created." His voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. "I just need your forgiveness. I need your help. We could get past this. People move on from worse." I leaned back, folding my arms. "Do you hear yourself? You don't want me back. You want the life I gave you back. The money, the respect, the stability. You want me to patch up the holes you punched through your own foundation." He slammed his hand against the table, drawing a glance from the barista behind the counter. "I built an empire, Alyssa. You can't just erase me like this." That was the moment I laughed. Quiet, sharp, without warmth. "You built your empire on my trust, and you destroyed both. You're the architect of your own destruction." His mouth opened, but no words came. He just sat there, staring at me like he'd never seen me before. I stood, collected my purse, and looked down at him one last time. "This is the last time you'll ever see me on your terms. The next time, if there is one, it'll be because Emma decides you've earned a place in her life again. Not me." His eyes were glassy, his voice barely a whisper. "Please, Alyssa." But I was already walking away. My heels clicked against the tile, steady and unshaken, as I pushed open the door. The warm Houston air hit my face, and for the first time in months, I felt weightless. Behind me, Jason was left sitting in that cafe, surrounded by the ashes of everything he'd set on fire. A year later, my life barely resembled the one I'd walked out of at Emma's graduation. The old house had been renovated, New paint, new furniture, new energy. Every corner felt like mine again, free from Jason's shadow. Emma and I hung pictures of her first year at college, moments filled with laughter and resilience. She'd grown stronger than I ever imagined, her voice sharper, her confidence blooming. As for me, I stopped defining myself by what I'd lost and started shaping what I wanted. With Franklin's connections, I launched a consulting business for small companies run by women. The irony wasn't lost on me. I once gave up my own career to build Jason's, and now I was building careers for others, and thriving. Clients came steadily, word spread, and soon I had an office downtown with my name on the door. My mother would have been proud. Emma often visited, sometimes with friends who looked at me like I was proof they didn't have to settle for less. She'd say things like, "My mom rebuilt her life after everything. If she can do that, what can I do?" She saw me not as someone broken, but as a role model. That was worth more than any settlement, any headline. Jason became irrelevant. I heard things occasionally, how he bounced from couch to couch, how he tried to start another business but no one trusted him, how Rachel had moved states away to escape the gossip. Sometimes I'd catch sight of him in passing, thinner, older, the arrogance stripped away. He'd glance my way, but never approach. He knew better. He was a ghost now, fading from the story he once thought revolved around him. One evening, Emma and I sat on the porch with glasses of iced tea, watching the Texas sunset. She turned to me and said, "Mom, I'm glad it happened the way it did. Not because of what he did, but because of what you showed me after. You didn't let it destroy you." I smiled at her, the ache of the past softened by the life we'd built since. "That's the thing about betrayal," I told her. "It doesn't break you unless you let it. Sometimes it frees you." As the sky shifted from gold to deep indigo, I felt it fully, the weight gone, the strength in its place. I had survived humiliation, betrayal, and loss, and I had come out not just standing, but soaring. Jason was nothing more than a cautionary tale. Emma and I were the story worth telling. Betrayal didn't end my life. It ended the illusion I was living in. Freedom was waiting on the other side. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, I'd love to hear your thoughts or even your own experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the Velvet Revenge channel for more stories like